Hi there, everybody. This is Lee. This video is about Ajamu Baraka, the vice president of the Green Party ticket for Jill Stein, the presidential nominee of the Green Party. Ajamu Baraka has been speaking out specifically on issues such as student loan debt, the school to prison pipeline, and then also the Southern strategy of the Green Party. So the Green Party has been hosting what they call Fireside chats. These chats take place via live stream on Jill Stein's Facebook page. And the footage still is there in the timeline, so you can click and see what Jill Stein and or Ajamu Baraka had to say. Ajamu Baraka did the most recent fireside chat. Jill Stein is still a bit under the weather, resting up for a series of campaign events all across America. So Ajamu Baraka took over the fireside chat, and very well done. Very informative. Again, he addressed the student loan debt and the solutions to relieving that debt, zeroing out student loan debt, and then moving on to make college costs free. He outlined the details of that, and it has this quantitative easing, the methodology, the details had come under fire by a comedian who held up the possibility of releasing students, past, present, and future, from the heavy burden of higher education. Because the opposite result of not releasing them would be to have a generation of youth who go uneducated. And what does that do to our society when we have an entire generation who forego higher education and choose not to go beyond the high school level because they cannot afford the cost? Meanwhile, nations across the world are educating their youth and are making sure that this public good is available to their citizens so they get educated. But our citizens here at home, the future of our society, does not. And it's a short sighted, selfish, mean spirited attitude to take towards the high cost of education, which is not nearly as affordable as it was in the 50s and the 60s when the baby boomers, say for instance, went through their college programs. There was more money available for scholarships, grants, to the point that loans weren't always even necessary. There was more disposable income. There was more wage available, more jobs with affordable living costs. And so that money could be used to educate the baby boomer generation, that wealth that was accumulated by the greatest generation through the great the New Deal, where they were able to have these jobs, distribute the money, decentralize the wealth through the jobs programs, and then that money was passed on to the baby boomer generation. And then the baby boomers said, you know what, we want to not only keep this money, but we also want to accumulate more money. We're going to tighten up our corporate packages. We're going to invest in ourselves, in our lives, and in our own to benefit ourselves. And so they tightened up, and then a gradual transfer of wealth from a decentralized distribution to just maybe the top 20%, which became the top 10%, and now 5%, and now 1% of people in the United States holds, most of the wealth compared to the rest of the 99%. This is what has been accomplished, and the student loan debt program is just one of those ways in which this was happening. The person who has benefited from, the high cost of higher education, the tightening of scholarships, the restrictions on the Pell Grants. All of these have benefited the loan holders, Sally Mae, Fannie Mae, people like that who have gotten rich from holding all these promissory notes and receiving all these payments, the high interest, the collection fees, the debts, the penalties. And so people have gotten poorer. They've gotten less education. They have fewer job opportunities. What jobs are still available? Many people just do not have the education or the technical skill. They haven't been able to purchase these skills, the skill set in order to acquire those jobs because they cannot afford education. Ajamu Baraka spoke on all that. He spoke very clearly on the methodology, the quantitative easing, and then other methods, beginning, middle, end, of how this can be accomplished. This video is available again at the Green Party's Jill Stein's Facebook page, and it's kind of like a pushback against the ridiculing of the possibility of releasing our students from this debt. The fact that the banks, the banksters, the gangsters, the thugs of Wall Street, the wolves of Wall Street, that they were able to take advantage of this methodology, the quantitative easing that Barack Obama allowed to occur with the Federal Reserve. This was done for the banks, and so they're saying if it can be done for the banks, then why not the students? They're saying that the banks were too big to fail. What about our entire future generation of the United States? Are we going to allow them to fail and then put all that money and resources into the banks? It makes no sense. And so they're saying that it can be done. Not only that, it should be done. Some people seem very hostile to the very thought of someone trying to get a higher education. And it just really makes not a lot of sense because education is a public good. We want our society to be educated. That's how we advance. That's how we use our technical skills to move this country forward rather than, back into the Stone Ages. We want an educated population. And so that means making higher education affordable. And there's a methodology to do that. There's resistance, and it's coming primarily from, I would say, the oligarchy, because if they're holding those notes, that gives them a financial power over the entire next generation. Some people don't want to give that up, I guess. And then there's also like moralizing, like, well, you should be able to pay for, and it just makes no sense. It just makes no sense at all. But anyway, I'm going to recommend people look at that. Look at that Fireside chat with Ajamu Baraka. It's very clear. He also explained it very clearly to Chris Como on CNN when they had their town hall on CNN. Ajamu Baraka took over the discussion because, again, Chris Como was kind of going on like, well, it just doesn't make sense, and I just don't get it, and I don't think it was going to work. And, no matter what was said, he would respond, well, I just don't see that working. I don't see that working. I don't see it. And then finally, Ajamu Baraka was like, look, man, it's this. Now, boom. And so he shut down that discussion. For some reason, Ajamu Baraka has really the gravitas to really put a period on the end of the quantitative easing discussion. And even just the concept of definitely we need to have education be affordable once again. It used to be affordable back in the 50s and 60s. He's saying that once again, for this new generation, Generation X, Generation Y, and the millennials have been damaged. But for the new generation, we need to make college costs affordable again. It was done for the baby boomers. Why not the younger generation? And so that's Ajamu Baraka speaking truth to power on Jill Stein's Facebook page in a Fireside chat. He's also been speaking out on how to disrupt relationships to the Democratic Party. There's an article at The Root, and this is a news source that's geared towards and from an African American point of view. And so this article is by Kirsten West Savali, and Ajamu Baraka discusses the Democratic Party's rightward movement, the foreign policy, and then the Green Party's response being the Green Party Southern strategy, which Ajamu Baraka is leading. And so he discusses the dangers of both Hillary Clinton and the Democratic Party, and then Donald Trump and the Republican Party. He discusses the dangers of liberal complacency, and even notes that Angela Davis has kind of changed a little bit in some respects. So Ajamu Baraka is saying that there is a need to build a black power base in the Deep South that has tied itself to the Democratic Party, even in red states such as Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, Arkansas, places such as this, which are deeply blood crimson dripping red, that there is still votes being cast for the Democratic Party, though those states are not flipping and have not flipped since maybe Bill Clinton, who flipped some like West Virginia and Tennessee, and then they went red and remained red. And so he's saying, like in these southern states, rather than casting votes for the Democratic Party and have those drown in a sea of red, because those states have been reliably red for over 20 years, for over maybe 3 or 4 election cycles, and they are unlikely to flip to blue. Casting the blue vote into a vast sea of red, they disappear. They drown and disappear. Ajamu Baraka is saying that those in red states, who are in states that are reliably red, like Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, Arkansas, Missouri, and Tennessee, West Virginia, many states like that, where green is on the ballot, it stands to reason that casting a vote for the Green Party in the red state is not a wasted vote. In fact, that vote goes on to build the Green Party because it adds to the national total of votes. So if you are in Louisiana or Arkansas or Alabama, say, and your state is reliably red, casting a vote for the Green Party is not a wasted vote. It's a vote to add to the national total, because if the Green Party meets the baseline of 5% or more, it gets major party status, it gets major party funding, it gets an opportunity to stay on the ballot in that state, and then also release the Green Party from the need to fight for ballot access once more. So he's saying that's the Green Party's Southern strategy, to flip the state more towards green, even though it's likely going to remain red this election cycle. It's an investment of the vote to keep green on the ballot for 2018, when there's going to be more Greens rising to run for office at the down ballot level. In some of these states, the Republican Party goes unchallenged, because that's how deeply red the states are, that the congressional candidates, that the state, that the U.S. Congressional candidates, House and Senate, and then even the state party or state level, state assembly, state senate, state representative, They run unopposed. There's no challenger. He's saying that keeping green on the ballot would provide a means, a structure for people to use if they are progressive in their thought, in their philosophy, and they want to see a progressive lean towards these states that have tilted so far to the right. Keeping green on the ballot will allow more people to challenge the rightward drift instead of letting it go unchallenged. And so, in order to do that, it's necessary to vote green this election cycle, keep green on the ballot for those who want to run for office in 2018, whether it's you or someone that you know. And of course, keeping green on the ballot through the next presidential cycle as well. So, it's a way to actively challenge both the Democratic Party and the Republican Party and the Libertarian and the Constitutional Party. All that are corporatist in their leaning, most that are rightward in their philosophy. In order to pull that state to the left, green must stay on the ballot. In order for green to stay on the ballot, people need to vote for the Green Party in the South. And so that's Ajamu Baraka's speaking on the Southern strategy. That article can be found at The Root, and it's dated October 18th. And so, Green Party VP nominee Ajamu Baraka, we must disrupt our relationship to the Democratic Party. And so, Ajamu Baraka is speaking out yet again in the Detroit News. This is an article dated October 18th. He's saying that it's necessary to examine the last 8 years clearly and its effect on African Americans in the United States. Not only that, our foreign policy, people of color overseas. How has the last 8 years affected us? Ajamu Baraka is saying that there's issues. He's saying that a Stein-Baraka presidency would be focused on using the executive powers to create an emergency jobs bill to address inner cities and rural areas. And he's saying that, and this is a quote, that we're no longer going to allow for them to have unfettered freedom to expand settlements and undermine the rights to Palestinians and reverse the attempt at regime change in Syria. And that's his note on the effect of the Obama presidency in the Middle East. And so he's got harsh words for Barack Obama, Donald Trump, and Hillary Clinton. And he's saying that Barack Obama is a moral disaster. He's saying that if the Democratic Party had wanted to actually battle Donald Trump, they would have supported Bernie Sanders rather than sabotaging Bernie Sanders, since Bernie Sanders was the stronger candidate against Donald Trump while Hillary Clinton has been struggling. And so he's saying that, this article is saying that he's a 62-year-old associate fellow at the Institute for Policy Studies from Atlanta. And he's saying that regarding this war policy, that many people actually oppose the war. They oppose the no-fly zone over Syria. They oppose the war with Russia that will likely result. We've already damaged one ceasefire in Syria. That was the United States that damaged that ceasefire. The people who do not want war includes Russia. All the aggression, all the saber rattling, all the anti-Russia talk has come from Hillary Clinton. It is Hillary Clinton who wants that war. He's saying that we need to stand up to police brutality and to reject militarism. And domestic militarism is police brutality. It's the domestic side of that foreign policy coin. The military-industrial complex. The domestic side of that is the prison industrial complex and the police force. So he's saying that that Donald Trump is here because Donald Trump is speaking to anxiety and fear that many people have. The policies that have left out the people on the ground. And Donald Trump represents the right side of that. Bernie Sanders did represent the left side of that, and now it's the Green Party that's representing the left side of that. So he's saying that Barack Obama has been a moral disaster and one of the worst things that has happened to African American people. And that's because Black issues have moved to the right, and the president hasn't been keen on seeking justice for wronged Blacks. And we can just look at the numerous police shootings and the prison industrial complex and who is being warehoused there to understand that while these words seem harsh against Barack Obama, to the people who are inside that prison industrial complex, to the families who have had the experience of their children being slaughtered in the streets, maybe the words are appropriate and harshness is relative. So there's this article, I'll let you read through it. It's Detroit News, and it's Ajamu Baraka commenting on Barack Obama. And so I'm going to post these links in the description, and you can kind of see where the Green Party is going, what's happening right now. They've got events planned all the way through November. They are in California, but they're also going to be visiting Washington State and then Portland, Oregon. They're going to Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I think they're going to be stopping back in Michigan. They're going to be visiting Virginia. Lots of states in between, and then Ajamu Baraka is still working on the Southern strategy too, to get a new way of thinking about the Green Party and the possibilities in the Southern states. Good luck.